Hello again. Hello, 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 hello. Wholeness. Welcome to my channel, my space, my place. This is Rashida Silvertree here, and today we're going to talk about the shadow elite yet again. I think it's the perfect time to do so, given that we're entering into a very fiery season this year. It is a pivotal moment. I used to do energy readings on such matters. For the collective, and I'm still on the fence of if I should upload my energy readings for the collective through YouTube. I don't necessarily feel that it's a good thing right now. I feel the calling to really hone in on my own spiritual practice and craft at this time. So to solidify, myself and keep myself grounded and centered, what I have to share is not for entertainment. Or entertainment purposes. So I don't feel comfortable uploading. But there was a reading I did a little bit ago, a few months ago, one of my last few readings, if I haven't privatized it, that I discussed this fall or this summer, this fall, and how things are unfolding. And the reading wasn't wrong, and it's been pretty accurate. So, Shadow Elite, Nationalism, Globalization, and World War III. So the possibility of war, there's been whispers of it in the digital virtual plane. I find that I'm using the digital plane and the virtual reality as a space of resource for information. We live in the age of Aquarius, the age of information. So it's about how you apply the knowledge. What kind of knowledge you're internalizing and how you apply it. Applied knowledge is wisdom. So be aware of the type of knowledge that you're taking in. If for entertainment, for information, education, it doesn't matter. It shapes how you activate that wisdom inside you. The wisdom comes from the word wizard of the dome. The dome is the mind of the brain. Wizardry is the magi, okay, the magician. So, Shadow Elite, Nationalism, Globalization, World War III, Nationalism. So there is going to be a huge uptick. Now, you can take this as a prediction, if you will, a prophecy. I do not believe in such things because to know the future is to be trapped by it. That is dangerous. So, take this as just maybe just a message, okay? You take the message as it resonates, or do not take this at all. And this could just be me blabbering at the mouth and saying random shit that doesn't mean anything to you. That doesn't matter. That's out of my hands when I upload these messages. So nationalism, let's talk about it. There is a huge uptake in nationalism. I know in the Western world, I've never lived in a non-Western world before. I've traveled outside the U.S., in Europe, predominantly, to Canada, U.S., but I don't know Asia, I don't know Africa, I don't know the Arab world, or South America, I would say, is Western. I would say that for sure. Very poor parts in South America, but still it's very westernized anyway. But there's a huge uptick in nationalism that I think we'll see unfolding within this decade and entering into the 2030s. This isn't necessarily a warning or anything, but people are going to feel like they have to choose a side. They have to say that they're American or they are non-American. Like, you believe in American values, old-fashioned values, or you believe in the neo-America, meaning the new way of doing things, the radical. Everything's becoming very radicalized, and so people feel that they have to go left or they have to go right and not in the middle. A choice is a choice regardless, and I think if you choose not to choose a side, that's a choice, and every choice has a consequence. It's all a freaking game during the pandemic and the lockdown, shutdown. It was almost like a psychosocial test. People were making people feel bad. If you wore a mask, then people, when they looked at you, it was a visual cue that, oh, this person believes this. If you weren't wearing a mask, then they said, okay, then you're a right-winger, non-vaxxer, you don't believe in that. And so it was very divisive, but it was a subconscious training for what is to come. So you say, oh, you can't say that you're for, like, let's say pro-abortion and pro-life. You can't say that you have to pick a side. You can't say that you're for transgender, for teaching kids about transgenderism, and then say that you're for LGBTQ or LGBT or whatever it is now. You have to pick a side. And that to me is going to force people to what they mostly identify with, not just their race, not just their creed, but their nationality. What is America now? What does it mean to be American? What does it mean to be British? What does it mean to be French or German? What does it mean to be Canadian? What does it mean to be Australian? What does it mean to be North American? Like, what does it mean now? Because if you claim, oh, I'm American and I believe in American views, you have to understand how that America was built in the first place, the foundation of those old-fashioned American views. You have to understand the true nature of where this country was built on. Okay. There's been some people completely, utterly despise where and how the America or Western world was built, and they want to build something new. They want to build something so radical, so freeing and liberal that there's no structure at all. But they don't understand that they are becoming what they despise. Everyone's becoming what they despise. So and it's causing major division. But with this new nationalism, and it doesn't matter if you vote left or right. It really doesn't, because whoever is the winning side, which there are no winning sides because the shadow elite is controlling all sides, but whatever side you choose, it's just not going to be very peaceful. It's not going to be this, okay, we'll take it, we'll take the right or we'll take the left. It's going to be mayhem, okay? People are not going to be happy, and people are going to become more and more extreme, and there will be an increase in political violence. People can see what they're capable of now, given that we recently had the assassination attempt on former President Trump. Now that I've had a moment to allow that whole event to kind of simmer, and I'm processing that because I saw it and I heard about it. If I never saw it or heard about it, I wouldn't be making videos on it. I wouldn't be making commentary, but I happened to because I was at work and I saw it on the screen and colleagues, told me about it. Here's the thing. I don't believe anything now. Whether he was in on it, Trump was in on it, or he wasn't in on it, whether it was the left or inside job, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. The act itself has caused a ripple effect where people are hunkering down in their paradigms and their belief systems. And anyone that's opposing to that belief system is the enemy. So if it happens that the right wins, the left is going to retaliate. If it happens that the right or the left wins, then there's going to be retaliation regardless. And then it's going to be, well, what kind of American are you? There's a movie called Civil War, another propaganda, just like the Leave the World Behind, the film that came out last year, I think, or a few months ago, with starring Julia Roberts and someone else, Ethan Hawke. It was very heavily political propaganda, and then shortly after that, they came out with the Civil War movie. I watched Leave the World Behind, but I didn't watch Civil War. Why put that inside me? Anyway. It's just going to insinuate more division. So there's that. Globalization. Like I mentioned before in the Trump the Trumpet video, I mentioned why, I think in that video, why they're keeping the borders open in the Western Empire. They're keeping it open because it's part of their long-term agenda. The thing is, Shadow Elite, they plan. They're master planners, okay? They plan for the next centuries to come. They're planning for something big, really, really big. And I'm not sure it's the right time to talk about it. Okay, do not talk about this. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about why. But I can talk about what they're doing I can't talk about the purpose of why they're well, I'll just be careful in how I word it. But the shadow elite, they're keeping the borders open to, what's the good word? To blend nationalities, blend racial ethnicities. If you haven't noticed, and look, I'm all for race mixing and black people being with white people, Asians being with Latinos or Hispanics, like I don't mind. It's not a big whoop-de-doo. Human beings make it a really big deal, really big deal, because it's all about tribalism, really, and but they don't want that. I think with their agenda, they want as much mixing of the races and as much mixing of nationalities as possible, because within the next few decades, they do not want maybe within the next century, they don't want there to be like African Americans, like you're calling me African American or black. White Americans, what's that? Asian American, what's that? Or Chinese, or they don't, everything's going to be unified in a very different way. They will, so there will be a union in the Asian countries, union in Africa for sure. Africa is on its way to become possibly a world power. A strong possibility of becoming a world power. They hold most of the world's resources anyway. That's how the Western world, that's how Europe was able to become what it is today, because without Europe, America would not be what it is today. So Africa holds a lot of resources that Asia's starting to drill into right now too. But they want, back on the race thing. So I've been in numerous interracial relationships with people. Nothing against my own people. I love my people. I love black men. I love black women. But I don't know what it is about my vibe. It doesn't melt with my tribe. Well, I don't know. I have some insight on why I never like blended in with my black men out there well, but it's not. It used to be upsetting and really hurtful, and like, there's something wrong with me, type of deal. But I'm not fixated on anything anymore. It's about the character of a man. It's about the character, and it's about their spirit and the level of consciousness and self-awareness and the ability to love themselves and to love other people. And if race dominates over what I just said, there's an issue. So with the race mixing, I know with the digital age, the shadow elite can really do a lot. They can manipulate quite a bit through the virtual reality / digital platforms that we have now. So I remember back in 2007, 2008, I was, a college student, and like all of a sudden there was a fixation on black hair and a lot of how-to videos and how to build this, how to do that. It was really cool, like really, really awesome at first. And then it got into, I'm going to vlog everything about my life. Then I'm going to vlog everything about my relationships. And then, look at how culturally we can blend. I have a Japanese husband and I'm from Cuba, or I have a Swedish husband and I'm from Cameroon. Like a lot, it was just so blown up and forced down our throats pretty much, which I'm all for it. Like I date outside my race, and it shouldn't be that much of a big freaking deal, but it is, and we make it so. So they call it swirling. That was a term for a while, just really kind of gross. I didn't care for that at all. But I could tell that there's more, like you see it everywhere now. You see, like in the commercials, you see just a lot more representation of people blending their cultures together. And I'm not going to say it's all negative either. It's just you see, like, it's more accepted now. Like, oh, look, and they're even getting really accurate, right? They'll have a beautifully black, dark, melanated, chocolate, beautiful queen, and then they have someone, who's Asian or that's Caucasian, handsome person, and then in the commercial, they'll have children reflecting the blend. And back in like the 90s or 80s, you didn't have that. You just said, okay, black dad, black mom, black kid, right? And if you saw that, and it was a rare thing. I remember Romeo Must Die with Aaliyah, and Jet Li, and they at the end of the movie, this was like a it was a black film, catered to black audiences and Asian, I guess. Um, but he like played a cop, and she was like the damsel in distress, trapped in the hood, whatever, blah blah blah. But she was gorgeous. I always thought Aaliyah was beautiful. But at the very end of the movie, they were supposed to kiss, but they didn't. So even then in the 90s, it was like kind of like an issue. It was taboo to see a black woman with, you know, a non-black man, and vice versa. I mean, it was more accepted for black men. You see a black man with a white, woman character in the movies more so than the other way around. But in the past 10, 15 years, you see it everywhere now. You see it in politics where they've accepted, I think New York, the mayor or governor of New York, and he has a black wife and mixed family. Like, you just see it's more just accepted now and not something new. But wonder why that is, right? And it's nothing negative. I have mixed family members, and I don't care. It's not a personal issue I have with it, but it does play into globalization. You see it. And the very fact we have virtual reality, when I watch videos of because I love watching videos on people who are expats and they move to Sweden, or they move to Finland or Scandinavia somewhere, or they move to East Africa, Kenya, or they move to Mongolia, or they move to France or South America, Central America, and they meet someone. Like, there's this woman I watched, she's Nigerian American, and her husband is Greek, and they're adorable, adorable couple. They look like they're very much in love, married, and and that family loves her, and so there's just it's a very beautiful thing, but it's for a purpose, because there was a time where people would be hurt if they married outside of their race, or if they had a child outside. The one drop rule, remember that, my fellow Americans? The one drop rule where, you had 5% black in you, then you were kind of like, no, you can't be part of our white society kind of thing. But now it's like, please come. I think in Japan, they're wanting African men, they're paying African men to come to their country because of the low birth rate. And it's very interesting now, but it's all part of the globalization agenda. When you have so much generation after generation after generation, this is like every 10, 20 years, mixing. You have mixing of languages. In most biracial homes, if someone speaks a foreign language, it's usually the case where one language will take over the other. One culture will be a little bit more dominant than the other, right? Unfortunately. But you lose things also when you mix cultures. It's a lot of effort to bring in and blend cultures together, especially if it's not English, Anglo-Saxon English, spoken in the home. It's very difficult. It can be very difficult, and it can be very super easy depending on who's with who and the type of person that they are. But the globalization agenda is playing a part with that. Why? Because they keep those borders down or weaken the borders, and it's not even really the illegal immigrants' fault. It's really the politicians at play. And it trickles down all the way down to the local politics, your local politicians. It does. That matters. I had no clue how much local politics matter. Even as a non-political person, a very whimsical, kind of like new agey consciousness, spiritual person that I am, it matters. So now, it's one thing to just peep game. I'm not saying participate, right? That's just want to make that. I'm not trying to force affiliation on anyone on my channel. This is just about practicing awareness and seeing beyond the veil. And so with globalization, it That's the agenda, to blend, to make it one, to create new political systems, new regulations, and new privileges. And like I said, mentioned before, we don't have human rights, they're just privileges. Privileges are just what they allow us to do. Oh, basic human right. You would think that's the righteous thing to do. Everyone has a birthright to just have freedom and make their own choices. Ha ha, that's a joke. It's privilege. Okay, they can rewrite, like I said, they can rewrite it like that. It doesn't take it like blink. Oh, let's change this law. You know, well, we wrote in that, okay, Roe versus Wade, women have the right to choose. Okay, let's write that in. So many years later, women do not have the right to choose. Let's take that out. Right? Okay, it's been 50 years. Women have the right to choose, you know? And I'm thinking they took that away because the human population is going downhill. And they just genuinely don't want people to abort. You know, you're going to see a push in production of children, right? You are. Gosh, one video I watched, it said that the government in the U.S. invests no more than $500 per child in the U.S. compared to Sweden, which is like thousands, like $10,000, $20,000 in their investment when it comes to their children in Scandinavia. That's a rough estimate, by the way. Do your own research, but I thought that was crazy interesting. Like, the U.S. could give two shits about a child investing in a child education. What? They want you to be in debt. But anyway, globalization. So, how is this going to cause World War III? People are not going to be very happy about becoming something other than what they know and understand as far as identity goes. Like, you're no longer American. You are a citizen of this political system. You're no longer African. You're a part of this political system. You're no longer European. You're going to speak the main language, which could be possibly English, okay, or Chinese, right, or Arabic. I don't know. I'm thinking it's just the global language will be English. And so, because that's what brings in a lot of money, right? The world's in power, the empire that's in power, that's the language that rules the world, that's spoken the most, that everyone seeks out to understand and to learn English. You know English, you know how to speak English, it's a super key to get anywhere in the world. Right? Compared to learning Swahili or learning Catalan in Catalonia in Spain, right? Or learning French even. Okay? Or you can get by with learning French. French is good. I'd say Russian's good. Chinese is good. Mandarin, Cantonese. Arabic is good to know. I think Africa, the continent of Africa, they're wanting to make Swahili their like the language of the whole continent. If I'm wrong, let me know. Spanish is good over here to know. If you want to live over in North America, South America, learn some damn Spanish, okay? Yo comprendo español un poquito, okay? Okay. I'm okay. Anytime you're choking, it's good to raise your arms up because it'll open up the airways. So, World War III. Yeah, people aren't going to be happy. They're not going to be happy with this setup at all because culture, okay, tribalism, language. Language is so important because it holds the culture together. It's almost like if we forced Mexicans to stop speaking Spanish when they come over here, imagine what and how that would hurt their culture. You know, that's an old practice, you know that? For the indigenous tribes in the Americas, they would force the tribes to stop speaking their language. They would beat the children. They'd shave their head off or shave their hair off. And then they take the kids from the tribe, from their parents, put them in these schools, whitewash them, make them wear European garb, and then they would force them to speak only English. And if they spoke their language, they would beat them. And so when these children grew up and had children of their own, and the children were curious about where they come from, they never spoke of it. There was that much shame. Language is key. So I can't even imagine Mexicans come over, you can't speak Spanish. The U.S. is literally bilingual now. I don't know if you guys realize that. So learn Spanish. It'll help. It's helped me in education. It's helped me in the medical field. I don't speak much, but I'm learning. French. It's like French is like one of those uppity languages. Like, you know, it's very like it's not very useful here. If I was going to be in Europe a lot, like Western Europe or West Africa a lot, North Africa, French would be very useful. And they speak French in the Quebecois, or the Quebec, not Quebec, or Le Quebec, Quebec. But apart from that, a little bit in Louisiana, but not much. But Spanish, I mean, ever since in the 90s, I remember being little and in school, and it was bilingual, Spanish, English, Spanish, English, Spanish, you know? I just didn't think of it. So we Americans, we live in a bilingual country. But yeah, World War III would take place because I don't see it being very peaceful with this whole globalization agenda from the shadow elite. People aren't just going to be like, oh yeah, okay, I'm not going to identify with my Chinese background, or I'm not going to identify with my Spanish or my Mexican background, or I'm not going to identify with being Italian. No, this is a long haul. This is going to take decades, if not a century, for them to implement this new world order. But I don't think people are going to take this very well. And they're prepared for that. The elite, the shadow elite, are prepared for this. And the globalization is serving a purpose. And all of humanity will not be ready for this. Those who have eyes to see and ears to hear and a heart that is open, when you see why they're implementing globalization, because the globalization is to unify the whole world into a new world order for a much bigger purpose, that it's going to literally shake the foundation of humanity to its core. Religion will probably implode on itself. Big time. Big time. And so, if you get it, you get it. If you don't, I don't know what to tell you. But I'm not I'm not in favor of war and conflict. I'm a pacifist. If it's my time, it's my time. I'm not, You know what I'm saying? I'm a visitor in this world. I'm not of this world. And so it's like, if it's my time, I mean, I'm not saying I'm not going to put up a fight or run if I need to run or hide if I need to hide. I'm not stupid. I love my life. But to put myself in, like, to become a soldier for someone else's ideology, political or religious or even spiritual, and kill in the name of whatever, just because now, if I'm a mother or a parent, that's a different story, isn't it? If I have family, that's a different story, isn't it? Because you're trying to preserve the life, the future. So in one way, I can understand war, but it's very hard for me to justify it and be, yeah, war. Yeah, civil war. Americans, man, were spared. Europeans are more weathered in because they know America, the U.S., bro. And they've implemented the draft. How in the hell? You have kids so focused on making a TikTok. I can see, oh my God, we're under attack. They're making a TikTok while they're being attacked. That's what it just, culturally, it just doesn't fit the mold. I just don't feel like they have that type of strength to get through something like that. But then I could be wrong. The younger generations, I could be wrong. I just think they're a lot more pacifist and a lot more like, oh, I'm going to jail before you send me to war type of thing. Like I'll just be an objective denier or whatever they call that in the 60s. Like I'm like Muhammad Ali. They put him, they took his title away and then threw him in jail, or he was on probation for like 4 years or something. He was like, oh no, you're not sending me to go kill someone else's babies for what? For nothing? No. And so they said, okay, fine, we'll strip you from everything. Didn't stop them, but that is a possibility, strong possibility. But they're going to push motherhood like never before, man. I really, 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 really feel like that's going to be like the next card they're going to pull out. And if you choose to be child free, I don't know. I'm a little kind of confused actually, because with the agenda with transgenderism, I think it's their way to also implement sterilization. So it's to manipulate the human population, right? Low birth rate, but the ones that, could be capable of having children, sterilize this group of people so that they don't produce, based off of their mental health and their self-perception. Like, it's really effed up. I think that that's what the true agenda is to like really, really manipulate people. Not out of how, oh, we care about your identity. They don't. They do not care about these people that are going through what they're going through and their sexual or gender identification. I can see it clear as day. As someone who's worked in healthcare, I can see it clear as day. They don't give a shit. I feel really bad for these kids and some of the adults, but the kids are, oh, Jesus, that's too much. So that concludes this topic. It's a little darker, but I just felt called to express that. I can't go into specific. I literally received the download a message from Source saying I cannot go into why they're prepping, or why they're pushing globalization. Just wake the F up, people. Like, it's not hard to see. Like, don't get caught up like, oh, the damn Mexicans are coming. No, look, why would they do that? Not just for exploitation, because they're exploiting these people in Europe and in the U.S. because you can pay them less because they're illegal. Oh man. And they're potential future soldiers. Come on. You have illegals bringing their family, they settle, they're undocumented, and then they produce, have more children, couple, maybe 1 or 2 generations, boom, soldiers. Birth rate's low in the US, soldiers. You want to be a citizen in the US? Okay, you're gonna send your son and daughter to war. Same in Europe. Europe birth rate's going down too. Japan. They're paying Africans to come over there and mix with their women because their birth rate is probably one of the worst in the world. Why though? That's it. I'm not even political. I'm not. I'm seeing how everything is so connected on a macro micro level, like working in with the public. I'm seeing it, man. And if you over identify with religion to the point where you're pushing people out and being judgmental, you're over identifying with your political alliance, you're over identifying with money and the monetary systems, you're over identifying in any shape, way, or form, you will be lost. You will be lost. It'll be hard to find your way. You have to be able to have some form of detachment and stay centered with yourself. Don't lose yourself in the hoopla of politics or religion or sex or gender. You get caught up in that, they have you. And they're running away with your mind. They're running away with the power of your mind, and they're controlling you. It is so clear to me now. Do I have all the answers? I do not. I will never claim to have all the answers. My views can change in 5, 10 years. They could change tomorrow. But at this moment right now, I'm telling you, open your eyes, open your ears and your heart, and strengthen your mind. Get in tune with your values and principles. Call upon your spirit, your God or goddess, or whatever you work with. This is bigger than religion. This is bigger than politics. This is bigger than transgender, transsexuality. This is big, what's happening. It has no name. Like the shadow elite. You don't know their names. That's it. Let me know what you think. I can get very passionate. I can get very fiery. I have no shame about that. You know? But it's just a message for the human collective, you guys. It's as much longer than I usually like to make my videos, but this is a really big freaking deal. And the best thing we could ever do is invest in our children. Prepare them. Because if we don't prepare them, well, it'll be their choice regardless. You can't force truth on people. You can only experience your own truth as the truth shows itself and reveals itself to you. You can't. I can make videos on this and it's just like, you know what I'm saying? All right. Wholeness. Remember to expand your consciousness, evolve your human being, and embrace supreme loving guidance. Be sure to love. Be love. Ground yourself in love. Breathe love. Exhale love. Share love. Forgive with love. Liberate yourself with love. Create with love. Speak love. Think love. Feel love. Loving is the hardest thing to do. when it isn't, when love doesn't have a home. Love is the hardest thing to share when love doesn't have a home. And the biggest trick, the biggest lie is that we're made to think that love is outside of ourselves. Thank you for tuning in if you lasted this long. Goodbye.